You're live, but I'm not sure why it's in the screen like this. All right, Graham.
Okay,
Or Dean, take it away.
all right, thank you, Yari. Like to welcome everybody to our November meeting of PrAC. We're starting at 4:35. Item number 1, land acknowledgement. I acknowledge with respect that we are in the Robertson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, known as Boating. Boating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Item number 2 on our agenda is the adoption of the minutes. Everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes. Any comments or changes? None noted. I ask for a mover for the minutes. Paul, and seconder. Jen. All in favor? Thank you. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Anyone have a conflict of interest to declare? None noted. Number 4, adoption of agenda. Everyone's had a copy of the agenda for a couple of days. Any comments or questions about that? If not, I ask for a mover, please. Jen, seconder Graham. All in favor? Item number 5, business arising. 5.1, active transportation master plan. We have Jonathan Kirkle here from the Sault Ste. Marie Planning Department, who's been pretty involved in this transportation active plan about. And everyone, I'd like to meet Jonathan Kirkle.
Would you share screen, Jonathan? Go to your application photos. There we go. There. Perfect. Is everyone able to see my slide?
Everyone sees the slide? Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Thank you.
Okay, well, everyone, thank you for inviting me to talk about the active transportation master plan. My name is Jonathan Kirkle. I'm a planner with the city's planning department. And I've been a planner here for about maybe 7-8 years, where I've worked on a wide range of projects, from the very site-specific projects that deal with, for example, development applications that's specific to one property, to projects that involve the city as a whole. And these are the more broader range policy implication documents. Perfect example is this active transportation master plan. The active transportation master plan is a project that a number of city departments have worked on. However, planning staff have been taking the lead on it. We have also been working with WSP to work on this project. WSP is a large consulting firm with expertise in engineering, active transportation planning, architecture, urban design. My presentation is divided into 6 sections. I will first begin by explaining what active transportation is, and then what an active transportation master plan is. I will discuss the status of the project. Then I'll go into more specifics on active transportation infrastructure types. Then into the guiding principles. Then I'll show a proposed map, which I did give a handout. This was the last of the thing, so if you're on Zoom, I apologize. You do not have a copy of it, but maybe I can send it later on, and you can take a look and if you have any questions. Ask away to me. Then I'll briefly touch upon social infrastructure. During the presentation, I think this is a smaller group, so it's pretty informal. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me while I'm presenting, or you can save it till the end as well. I'll take comments or questions either after or during the presentation. So active transportation is any form of human powered travel that involves physical activity. So Common examples are cycling, walking, even various forms of rolling or wheeling around, which could include skateboarding to even scooters, the manual scooters, not the electric scooters. Public transit and emerging technologies such as electric scooters, they are not technically considered active transportation. However, it's still recognized that they form an integral part of the success of any active transportation master plan, and that's because they can accommodate they can accommodate travel without having to rely on a vehicle, and they also facilitate that multimodal type of transportation. So for example, let's say someone needs to go from point A to point B, they can potentially walk halfway to either a bus stop or a bus terminal, and then take the bus to complete their final leg of their journey. So, an active transportation master plan is a strategic plan that outlines the goals, the policies, the projects, the investments that are needed to advance active transportation in the community. So this is the draft active transportation master plan. This big document, it has a lot of things, hasn't been released to the public yet, but shortly you'll be getting a copy or review. It includes maps, policies, essentially, the policies, investments, all the recommendations that are needed to advance AT in the community. It's within this bulky document. And in creating this document, a lot of work went into it. We did a lot of public consultation with stakeholders, members of the public. We went out into the community at various events, have an information booth to collect feedback. We use social media with an information portal online. We also met with various stakeholders, such as some indigenous groups, as well as the Conservation Authority, the Sioux Cycling Club, STAC. We also did a jurisdictional scan or scanning other municipalities to see how their active transportation master plans looked. And paying particular attention to those municipalities that have a similar climate to ours. And in doing this, this includes the goals of the plan as well as to make a more practical implementation and funding strategies. So don't confuse an active transportation plan with a construction plan. A construction plan is when really when the plan, when the specific route is finalized, for example, and they're ready to construct and build. Because that involves the budgeting, the timing, the construction materials, and all that. So there are a number of reasons why we are proceeding and doing an active transportation master plan. Firstly, there's just having people out and about and able to engage in physical activity throughout the community as public health benefits, as benefits for the environment, as it reduces reliance on emissions-based vehicles. And when people are more out about in the community, there's that level of quality of life and a social integration, the community. And with that being said, for the past couple of years, the city planning department has prepared a number of development plans that have been adopted by council that have all tried to attempt to achieve a walkable community. And a walkable community is neighborhoods where a mix of land uses exists. So you have a range of residential housing types. So not just your single attached, but your semis, townhomes, apartments. You have places to shop, grocery stores, places to work nearby, as well as schools, institutions, and the park, all within a neighborhood. And it is an active transportation plan or an active transportation network that will make it easier, safer, more convenient and accessible to reach all those destinations within the neighborhood. So there is that nexus between the land use plan and an active transportation plan. The intersection of Pine Street and Nab and Pine Street and Allard, that's a perfect example of an up and coming walkable community because you have a major commercial center there, which includes the food basics, you have institutional uses and parks within that area, as well as a range of residential uses of varying density. Now, there are some gaps in the active transportation network. For example, across the basics of a bus stop, but there is no public sidewalk to actually reach that bus stop. So it's pretty dangerous for pedestrians. So if you had active transportation infrastructure there, mixed with that existing land use, that's the type of communities that we want to achieve in various locations throughout the city. So the status of the project, this project has actually been on our work plan for a number of years, but due to a lot of changing priorities, this project has been put on the back burner. But I think now it's really at the finish line. It's nearing its completion. So like I said, we have the draft active transportation plan. Staff have reviewed it. We have provided our comments and required revisions, and we sent it back to WSP to implement. And then we hope that when they send it back, it'll be ready to go for a final round of public consultation. And that will likely include submitting this on the consent agenda to council. So council and the city as a whole is aware of this up and coming documents. After that round of consultation, then we will submit it to council for official adoption. So this image is also on the handout. This outlines the active transportation infrastructure, specifically the physical infrastructure. So for under the pedestrian infrastructure network, you mostly have your sidewalks. Then you also have your multi-use trails, which are your typical 2 to 3 meter wide, smooth paved asphalt paths. The hub trail is an example of a multi-use trail. In terms of cycling, you have a range of cycling infrastructure which vary on its recommendation on what is recommended where. It's based on traffic levels and in whichever area we're looking at. The faster cars travel at, the more cars exist, the more likely we are to have a more protected bike lane just for the safety of cyclists. Shared network elements, those include your pedestrian crossovers and your neighborhood connector paths, or what we call locally catwalks. They benefit both cyclists and pedestrians, so that's why it's under a shared network element as opposed to being exclusively under one hierarchy group. Recreational pathways are those pathways that serve a purely recreational purpose. They don't serve a connecting purpose or utilitarian purpose. Examples include the Hiawatha mountain biking trails, as well as the trails. So there are 4 main objectives to this plan. The first one is to enhance safety and accessibility. So, and I provided an example as well, where the types of infrastructure that will be recommended, we want to see how well is it going to improve safety. So in the example here, you see a protected bike lane, as opposed to something where it's just separated by traffic by a thin white line. Second objective is to create connectivity. So implementing catwalks through mid-blocks or other locations can provide a more direct path for people to reach their various destinations. It makes active transportation more easier, convenience for both cyclists and pedestrians alike. Third is to advance transportation equity. So we want active transportation to be distributed fairly and equitably across the city. One example that we've actually heard is people want a hub trail in the West End. They feel that the West End is neglected for active transportation infrastructure. So as what I'll discuss shortly in my presentation, we will be recommending something along the lines of a hub trail in the West End of the city. Fourth is to educate and encourage. And this relates back to that social infrastructure piece that I'll touch upon at the end of the presentation. You want a successful plan needs to establish a culture of active transportation, and that is done through public awareness, safety, educational programs, and other motivational programs. Examples include the bike to work week, bike to school week, even when you have the downtown closing the streets. That's an example of pedestrianizing the streetscape, and more people can really get accustomed to that culture. I'll skip this, this was already discussed in the previous slides. So, this is also part of the handout on the other sheet. This is one map that's in the draft active transportation master plan. It represents the proposed cycling routes throughout the city. And you can tell, just looking by the legend, there are a number of facility types. One recommendation to WSP is that they can provide a more simplified map, just to collapse all these different infrastructure types, so it's easier to really digest what's being proposed. The two key things that I'm excited about with this map are firstly the West End Hub Trail. What you see now, that is hopefully going to serve as the backbone to the Hub Trail, the West End. It connects a lot of key destinations such as the Elliott Sports Complex, Port Collegiate, Northern Community Center, as well as ties into existing bicycle or cycling routes along Woolley Avenue and Core Road. And then that just further increases connectivity to your major commercial center, such as No Frills and the Market Square Mall. And it also uses some, it proposes to utilize some lands owned by the Conservation Authority, but that's the stakeholder that we need to work with, just so we're in agreements, if they're okay with having that. They do have some safety and liability concerns, given that these are channels used for floodwater. Second proposal is, as of now, the rail line along Trunk Road serves as a barrier between the residential uses to the north of the rail line to the commercial uses to the south. We want to use this challenge and turn it into an opportunity. We are looking to see if there's enough space to the south, immediately south of the rail line, but north of the vehicle lanes on Trunk Road, to fit in a sort of multi-use path. Now, we are in very high level preliminary discussions with the rail line to see if that's possible. But this can provide a direct and safe route within this whole stretch of Trunk Road. What would even make it stronger is if we could implement formalized pedestrian crossings where one can cross the rail line from residential uses onto Trunk Road. But then, of course, that leads to a second challenge, which is now how do you get people to cross Trunk Road? You can't really expect them to walk to the intersection, so that's something that will need to be explored, potentially at a pedestrian refuge or some other creative interventions. I'll skip these ones. Onto social infrastructure. This is what I previously mentioned in one of the earlier slides. This plan not only has recommendations specific to physical infrastructure, but it has recommendations on social infrastructure. It provides guidance on the types of programs that can be implemented, as well as the types of groups that exist within the city that can help to establish very strategic partnerships to help implement these programs and further develop that culture. In terms of implementation, this whole plan represents 100 to maybe 150 to 200 million dollars worth of investment. So it's a lot of money. There needs to be a level of strategy on how to implement the plan. So one of the recommendations is to really explore and obtain or apply for a number of funding grants that exist through higher levels of government and other agencies. One popular, very important grant is the gas tax, for example, which is now known as a community building fund. Because there's a lot of movement with implementing this plan, it's also a recommendation that the city hire an active transportation coordinator, as well as establish an active transportation committee of council. And the purpose of that committee is to have more perspectives at the table to guide the implementation of active transportation in the community. And, related to that is, as of now, outside of these intergovernmental grants and fund transfers, much of the active transportation infrastructure is implemented through the roads budget. And the roads budget is largely goes under the engineering department. So it'd be a strength if, like I said, more perspectives can come to the table to really prioritize what transportation and active transportation infrastructure gets prioritized throughout the communities. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions? Yes.
Jonathan, I have a question, in terms of a timeline. I know we've been all waiting patiently for, as you say, a year or two, for this to be done, with the consultants and stuff.
Right.
Is there a date that it's planning to go to council?
Probably first quarter of 2025. Like right now, the ball is in WSP's court.
Okay,
We're just waiting for that finalized plan. And then we're gonna move quick. Once we get that finalized plan, we're gonna start that round of public consultation. And then head over towards council. So a couple months, I'm hoping for it. Because yeah, we're all anxious to
sure.
get it done. So there's a lot of excitement as well.
Yeah, because I think that we're missing some opportunities in terms of, you mentioned funding and dollars and things like that. Like that's kind of out there now with elections coming up and different things, and the sooner we can get this
Right.
finished, we can.
It makes it stronger to apply for
We
grants.
can work on the
and-
priorities, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
I believe Brenna has her hand up too.
Brenna? Chair recognizes Brenna, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. This is a question, great presentation, John, really interesting program and plan that you have. I have 3 different questions. My first question is, the pedestrian trails are going to be shared elements. They'll be protected or buffered like conventional bike lanes. So you have that option. When you are providing a buffer for a bike lane, is there an element where you consider what if the buffer creates a traffic problem?
Yes, before implementing any of the proposed networks, there would be a more thorough technical review of the geometry of the street. We're likely to do some preliminary assessment of the traffic volumes. And yeah, so we would take into account, we would do as much as we can to really know those details before really. And that's why I made that distinction between a construction plan and this plan. It'd be at that the construction level plan where the design details and all the other technical elements would be explored. So it's very possible that what you see on the map could be altered or tweaked or slightly revised to accommodate for any new information that's obtained. So it may, so for example, the West End Hub Trail proposes that the trail would go along Wallace Terrace. For more technical review, it may be decided that, you know what, maybe push it up 1 block north to Douglas, so it's parallel. Because of, let's say, there's space concerns with the right of way. Let's say it's just more financially feasible and quicker to build on that street as opposed to the initially proposed one.
Right, so everything is still cross-examined against driver safety.
Exactly.
And in terms of being a border and a provincial area, with commercial businesses that have transports in those areas as well. So we cross against federal,
We would
provincial.
do that. We would take a look at the truck routes. There would also likely be some form of public engagement for those property owners on that particular street. Just so we're not just getting the technical feedback, then we're also raising any red flags from the public who may have their own concerns that staff may not be aware of.
Right, perfect. Awesome, thank you. So I do have 2 more questions for you. So your third objective is equity, which I think is very important. Have we considered the cost of bikes and active transportation and potentially looked at the demographics of people who are capable of cycling or utilizing these services? and how much of that makes up our community?
We have done some demographic mapping, which includes looking at age groups, income levels. One's, we know whether one is a newcomer or not, as well as density levels. And we do want to make that connection between infrastructure investments to align with maybe communities that are a bit more vulnerable or need them more than other areas of the community.
Right, yeah, so definitely some kind of supportive program to make bicycles more equitable along with the production of bike lanes
Right.
could be an option.
Yeah, and that's to sort of to add to that, some of the programs or the social infrastructure that's recommended also calls for more outreach with vulnerable communities or just communities that are underserved. There's also some other recommendations with respect to providing not only safety lessons on how to ride the bike safely, but providing headlights, for example. As you see, many people around the community, they don't ride with any type of safety gear, like those helmets or lights, and it's likely due to an equity issue. So if that, so that is one of the recommendations to address that, just for safety and making the plan equitable and accessible for all, despite one's, let's say, income level or maybe knowledge of.
Yeah, you have education on there, might be part of that, right?
Right.
Yeah, perfect. So I had one more question about how are, if it's still in the draft stages, how is it approaching completion? And how much do we weigh on public consultation? Because it seems like it comes at a later stage where it might not have as much weight towards how these plans are drafted. It might be more difficult to adapt at the time that we take in that public consultation.
That's, in preparing the plan, we did a significant amount of consultation. We try to incorporate as much consultation as possible to really hone down on what are the key public interests. Now, with that being said, we always expect that there will be some public opposition to it. For example, many residents may not like the fact that they may lose their on-street parking, which is on city property, but they still see that as losing on their property and they'll lose it. So we try to look for alternatives, see what proposal could lead to the least amount of, let's say, public conflict. But in our line of work, no matter what you do, there's always going to be, you got to weigh the public interests.
So I guess my question was, how much is that qualitative data weigh?
It depends on the nature of public comments. Like, let's say the public comments relate to safety, then that'll be weighed more heavily than someone saying that, they just don't like cyclists in their neighborhood, or let's say they have a concern that it will lead to traffic issues. We would do a technical analysis to determine how accurate is that assumption, and if it is accurate, what can we do to make it better? And if that opinion is not grounded in any factual manner, then we just proceed with what's recommended.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks for your questions. I'd just like to mention to everyone that this active transportation master plan is not a brand new plan.
Right.
It's a revision of the existing transportation master plan, which is more than 12 or 14 years old.
2007, I believe.
Yeah, 2007. And basically it's we're getting it, the planning department is trying to modernize it with certainly the advent of more active transportation. People are more interested in cycling and biking and walking and all those different things. But anyway, those are great questions, Brenna. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Jen has her hand up. Chair recognizes Jen.
Thank you, Dean. So just a comment, I actually, back when the bike lanes were put in on Pine Street, I was working at APH at the time and participated in one of the consultations. And yeah, there was I remember some of the feedback from residents were concerns about parking was a big one. And then also housing prices decreasing, or the value of their homes, which evidence states otherwise. And I've actually implemented with the nursing students, they do a simulation to try and address those concerns and manage all the feedback. But sorry, on a side note, but my question is, and forgive me, I'm not my political knowledge is limited, but I saw something coming through where the provincial government is trying to stop active transportation and bike lanes if it impedes with transportation. Is there something along those lines? And if so, how is that going to impact this master plan and some of the work that you're doing?
Right now, that provincial initiative is still in the consultation phase,
Okay.
so it's not, I mean, who knows where it's gonna land up? It'll definitely have implication, well, we'll have to wait for the details to come up, but. It may, but just based on a high level understanding of it. It may preclude the ability to convert. A laneway that's used for a vehicle into a
Mhm.
bike.
Okay.
I mean, in that case, we really have to see what the specific regulations are when it comes out to see how we can deal with it. But you know, there are other components to the AT plan. That's not just on the conversion of roads to cycling. And you know, it may not even be applicable to Sault Ste. Marie when it comes up. But I do know that there's a lot of that discussion is surrounding key bike lanes in the city of Toronto, like in the downtown area.
Okay, so still not enough information to really make to influence this or know what this will result
In
in.
a few weeks, the consultation phase will close.
Okay.
And we just have to wait to see what decisions the province comes up with.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments?
Brenna has their hand
Oh,
raised.
okay, Brenna, sorry, Chair recognizes Brenna.
Hi, sorry, yeah, I know that I have researched a little bit about the recent legislation and it is due to the fact that the mayor and the city went forward with certain decisions without putting as much weight into public consultation as they would have liked. So they are making it a traffic issue, but the major thing behind it is a massive upheaval towards the decisions being made and move forward. I do know that there is a petition that's been signed by 400 plus people about the not taking the lights away at Wallace Terrace and Gooley Avenue. And I just wonder how we're collecting the data and how we're bringing public consultation together in a way that it's weighted as heavily as it needs to be, as opposed to consistently saying they might make erroneous complaints. There are some very valid safety complaints or very valid concerns that people share. And if enough people share them, I think that they're worth looking at. So I think that in order to comply with the legislation would be to increase the value of the qualitative data and make sure that that's very thorough. And that's the only thing that they would be doing as a province overseeing the municipal governments, is ensuring that those things are there, because it does go against their other congestion and traffic issues. But even in cases when it doesn't, I believe it's about public consultation. But that's just my opinion, and thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Brenna. Jen,
Nope, I'm good. I don't have any
Oh, okay.
comments.
I thought you were
Sorry.
waving, sorry.
No, no.
All right. So if there's no questions or comments, no other questions or comments, I want to thank Jonathan for his presentation.
Thank you.
I know how hard it is trying to get these things finished. I mean, it's certainly been not because of your lack of enthusiasm, Jonathan. I thank you and your group for working hard on it, but we'll hope that it appears at council before the snow melts.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you all have to stay because we're not finished our meeting. Jonathan can leave. Item number 5.2 is park development updates, and this is where I refer to Yari or Virginia.
Hi, everyone. I
Hi,
can
Bruce.
We have a couple of great updates for Parkland and Westwood Parks. They were in the process of wrapping up the pouring of the rubber surfacing this week, and then they're going to be going in with the engineered wood fiber for the remaining portion of the park. And then following that, the paved pathways will be going into the play areas. So all the equipment's been installed, and we'll be looking to launch both of those projects with grand openings in the spring. We also had a resolution from council that we had included on the package previously about the sensory playground area. So at our recent open house with the Accessibility Advisory Committee, that was one of the main topics that we were collecting feedback on. And I'll also be going out into the schools in the new year, William Maryfield and Holy Family, that are adjacent or close to that area, to do additional consultation with the classrooms. And I think that's it for the main park developments right now.
Okay, well, thank you, Virginia. Anyone have any questions or comments about that? Okay, moving on, item number 6 on our agenda, Subcommittee Task Force Update. 6.1, Sioux Trails Advocacy Committee. There is no comment or nothing to report. Item number 7. Is when I ask Yari if we have any new business.
Just our upcoming events. So we do have some events at the plaza coming up. So we do have our Christmas tree lighting ceremony
Okay,
on November 14th. That's a Thursday. So that'll be the tree lighting down in front of the courthouse, followed by some events at the plaza. We're also doing some markets down at the plaza coming up. The market will be open on Wednesdays, starting at the end of November, and we'll be doing some programming to go alongside with it. A lot of the choirs with the elementary schools will be presenting or performing, I should say, at those events. And then going into the future, then our next big thing will be Bond Suit, which I'm sure we'll be updating you guys on at the first meeting in February.
okay,
And Yari, also, we have a family drop-in day coming up that
Yeah.
we just organized at the NCC on one of the turfs. So Yari's going to be releasing more information about that, I think tomorrow or Thursday.
And then tomorrow at 10 a.m. the release comes out. Well, basically, we had a cancellation at the turf. We originally had some all-day bookings at the turf for the PD days. Typically, on PD days, I do open up the turf for families to drop in for free. And I'm able to do that now very last minute, but the information is going out to the public tomorrow morning.
thank you. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, item number 7.2. How does this come up so fast? Track applications for 25-26. As you're aware, everyone was appointed to PRAC at our last election, but it's a 2-year term that we don't have to reapply, or we have to reapply that we still want to be a member of the committee. So those are due by the end of the year, Yari?
Yes, so clerks will put out the application packages sometime this month. Once those are out, they'll be out for a few weeks for everyone to apply. We'd be happy to have everyone back, so make sure to apply. And then from there, a committee will be formed. Decisions will be made, and then people will be notified sometime in January as to whether their application has been successful. Which is why we're having a little bit of a gap before our next meeting, just to give us the time to reestablish the PRAC committee for 2025, 2026.
Any questions on that at all? None noted. Item number 8, have we had any correspondence?
Just the Sioux Cycling Club newsletter that you shared with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I just wanted to mention that I had an opportunity to engage with some of the pickleball players that are using the Lakeway Center for playing pickleball. I don't know whether anyone's aware of it, if you've gone on their website at all, but there are now more than 700 members in the local pickleball association, which is amazing. And I would recommend you just take a look at their site and see what they're doing and what they're offering. It's a very well organized site. They're a totally standalone volunteer organization, but it's quite impressive. Item number 8.1. I don't know, Paul, I didn't I wasn't able to make it out Sunday to Crimson Bridge for the Crimson Cross. Were you there on Sunday?
I wasn't, but saw there's quite a few photos.
Right.
It was well attended,
Yeah, they have their
all ages.
their typical turnout. But basically, it's Yari just highlighted some of the things that were in the Sioux Cycling Club newsletter, which they encourage that I share with you PrAC members. Item number 9, you see that our next meeting is not until February 4th. So in lieu of that, it's unfortunate that those of you on Zoom, I don't know, you can see in the middle of the table, but I was able to sneak into the pastry counter at work when my wife wasn't looking, and I brought some pastries for us to have kind of a Christmas sort of meeting. But I also brought some envelopes so people can take them home. But anyway, those of you on Zoom, if you're close enough, you can come by. We'll be here for a little while, but anyway, we're on item number 10, adjournment. I would ask for a mover to adjourn, please. Jen, and a seconder. Paul. All in favor? Thanks, everyone. Hey, Mark.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Okay.
Happy holidays.